2020. It is 7 o'clock, and I would like to do roll call for attendance of school board members, and I'll start with Director Beebe.
Here.
Director Bennett.
Present.
Director Olson.
Here.
Director Sorum.
A little bit, right?
Director Sorum. Director Starks.
Here.
Director Steiger.
Here.
Director Sorum. I know he's probably having issues with his microphone, but I can see him here. So marking as present. There he is. And then Corman is here. Okay, so before we start, here's the announcement. So the school board meeting tonight is being conducted via Hangouts Meet. It is being live streamed by BCTV and will be replayed per the usual BCTV replay schedule. So we moved on to approval of the agenda, and I would like to make a motion to strike item number 6 from the agenda.
Second, Steigoff.
Okay, are there any comments or questions? Okay, so all those in favor, please say aye. And then I'll start with Director Beebe.
Aye.
Director Bennett.
Aye.
Director Olson.
Aye.
Director Sorum.
Aye.
Director Starks.
Aye.
And Director Steiger.
Aye.
And Corman, aye. Thank you. Does everything look okay, Mr. Holman? We're good to go with, thank you. We're good to go with the agenda. Students, staff, and public. So there is no public recognition tonight during this Hangouts meeting. However, if you wish to contact the school board, please send an email to schoolboard@isd271.org. So now I'll move into approval of Part A of the agenda. Part A of the agenda includes board business, contracts, agreements, grants, and finances. And I like to make a motion to approve this Part A of the agenda. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Anybody, any questions, comments regarding that part of the agenda? Hearing none, then all those in favor of approving Part A of the agenda, please say aye. Director Beebe.
Aye.
Director Bennett.
Aye.
Director Olson.
Aye.
Director Sorum.
Aye.
Director Starks. Director Steiger. And Corman. Good. So we're going to move into Part B of the agenda. And the first item today we have is the COVID-19 update. And I'd like to call Mr. Rick Kaufman.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the school board, Superintendent Fujitaki, and our viewing audience. Thank you for the opportunity to share a few COVID-19 related updates as we near the end of the school year. Next week, the COVID-19 response team will stand down after meeting 45 times since March 10th. Hannah Hatch, the coordinator of health services, and I accepted the superintendent's appointment to serve as co-leads of this team. We are grateful for the opportunity to guide this team of leaders that consisted of the superintendent, assistant superintendent, Jenna Mitchler, executive directors Andy Kubis, Jennifer McIntyre, John Weiser, Rod Zivkovich, Mary Burrows, David Heisted, and Jake Winchell, and operations director Tim Reebok, and the manager of communications and marketing, Kate Martin. Through this period, members of the COVID-19 response team were also leading work groups within their departments while collaborating with other teams to develop and improve distance learning, the child care program, grab and go meals, and additional programs that served our students, families, and staff. The number of school and district leaders and staff representing all of our employee groups who were instrumental in the planning and execution of ongoing efforts is too numerous to recite tonight. However, we are grateful for those hundreds of staff members who opted to work, lend a hand, and lead. Their cooperation, their commitment, and their sacrifice is inspiring. While the COVID-19 response team will no longer meet on a regular basis, all of us are part of strategic planning teams or individually assisting in the development and organization of summer school and summer meals programming, our summer childcare program, and what a return to school will look like this fall. All of this work is currently under the guidance of Superintendent Fujitake. So what will school look like this fall? Much is unknown at this time. However, we are planning for the likelihood that some level of restrictions will be in place when classes resume this fall. And those restrictions may tighten or lessen based on the guidance that's provided to us by public health agencies. To that end, we are developing plans that are based on the unknown and the unexpected, including in-person or traditional school, online learning, or a hybrid system that combines those two. And should a rapid school or a district-wide closure occur, we are prepared for emergency school by way of distance learning, similar to what we've provided over these past 11 weeks. Our planning is relying on formal and informal feedback from staff and parent surveys that are currently in the field and will be until this Friday, May 29th. To date, we've received over 1,400 responses from staff and more than 2,900 from parents and guardians, including hundreds of open-ended responses respectively. Now, these are remarkable response rates. The feedback is going to help guide our planning to safely reopen schools and ensure that students and staff have healthy learning and working environments. We'll share more results and analysis of these surveys at the board's early June meeting. Additionally, our planning is being shaped by teams to develop the best online learning opportunities and in-school experiences. We've enlisted the help of classroom teachers, our reading and integration specialists, school and district leaders through our elementary and secondary district instructional teams, the distance learning problem-solving team, and technology collaborative work groups at each level in all of this planning. Other back-to-school areas that we are working on and addressing include transportation, school schedules, custodial and food services, professional development, technology, curriculum instruction, and human resources. As a district, we must and we will be prepared to be flexible to meet state restrictions and guidance at any time. Therefore, our plans are and should be expected to change. In all of our work preparing for and responding to the COVID-19 outbreak, we have and will continue to prioritize the health and well-being of our students and staff. We have an amazing community that, despite the great impact and toll it has had on individuals, on our businesses, civic organizations, and the city of Bloomington itself. We've seen, though, throughout this outpouring of support and assistance. One area we have not shared previously is donations. Led by Mary Jelleberg, an executive assistant in the Community Relations Department, over $7,300 has been donated to support our food operations over the past 2 months, including a $6,000 donation from Seagate. In addition, we put out a call for cloth face masks for our staff that are working in various aforementioned essential functions. As of today, we've received over 700 handmade cloth masks that are valued at over $3,500, including 2 masks from an 8-year-old Normandale Hills 3rd grader. Her mom sent a note with the donated mask that these were the products of her first ever sewing project. We continue to receive the masks so that we can distribute to our staff working over our summer programs and again this fall. Madam Chair, that concludes my brief update, and I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kaufman. Are there any questions from board members or comments? Director Bennett.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you to you, Rick, and the entire COVID response team. I think you guys have done a remarkable job, and really Bloomington has been second to none. I'm a little biased, but I really think that you guys hit it out of the park with this one. And under these circumstances, I don't think could have gone much better. So thank you very much for the entire team's hard work.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, once again, thank you for the report. Oh, Director Starks, you want to say? Yeah, go ahead.
My apologies. I also wanted to say thank you. I'm really grateful for everything that your team did. I also just wanted to express my my excitement to see the surveys that have been going out, the ones that asked about our communication, and then the one that asked about parents' experiences with distance learning, and now the new one that's out about plans for the fall. So I really am very grateful that our school district has gone out and sought out feedback instead of just expecting feedback to come to us. So thank you for that.
Director Bibi, I think I saw your hand up.
I'm sorry, I had trouble unmuting. I was out walking in the neighborhood and connected with some neighbors, and they are very thankful for those surveys. One is an educator, and 2 others were parents. And so I really appreciate all the details. I was at the AMSD meeting by Zoom the other day, and just all the details we received that go into this planning are just insurmountable. I don't think anybody in the community can even imagine what is happening. So my hat is off to you. I just really can't thank you enough, and the community as well is thanking you.
Any other board members? Okay, well, thank you again for the report. And just like my colleague said, there's no more words to really express the feelings of gratitude from all of us, members of the board and members of the committee and parents too. So for the viewing audience tonight, we invite you to stay tuned. Don't leave, because at the end of the meeting, we'll be sharing a video with you with a message from the school board. Okay, so let's move into our next item today. So I'd like to call Mr. Ratsikovich and Mr. Jake Wilchel for the preliminary budget 2020-2021 community education.
Chair Corman, Superintendent Fujitaki, board members, we're here tonight to give you the first look at the budget for the 2021 school year. This is a little different than we've done in the past. We've kind of all brought it in the past all together, but since COVID-19, it's a different world, both with operations and also with our finances. Because community education was one of the areas that were hardest hit by COVID-19 in the way of not being able to run some of their fee programs, we thought it would be beneficial for the board to see a presentation with community ed first, and then we'll bring the rest of the budgets to the board on June 8th, along with a summary again with the community ed budget. What you'll notice with this overall budget, we're putting together something that is similar to what you've seen in the past, but realizing that where we usually only update the budget once in either December or January, this might be a completely different year where we might have multiple revisions throughout the year. So it's just an awareness of the board and the public to understand that the budgeting process along with the operational planning is changing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And what we're trying to do is try to stay ahead of it, but also know that things can change significantly between now and the actual start of school, and especially by the end of next school year at the same time in 2021. With that, I'll turn it over to Jake to kind of go through the the budget proposal. Again, this tonight is nothing needing for voting or the rest. It's more informational purposes. And then I'll kind of jump in as needed and then also to be able to be here to answer questions at the end of the presentation.
Thank you, Rod. Good evening, Chair Corman, School Board. I have shared my screen with you, PowerPoint presentation. I hope you can see it. If you cannot, especially with the extension issues we've had, you may have to change your screen, but you should see a PowerPoint presentation labeled Proposed 2021 Budget. As Rod mentioned, the purpose of this presentation is just more informational. We're not looking for an approval or anything like that, but we do want to show you exactly what we're working through as we continue to be affected by this COVID-19 pandemic. So what we're going to show you, we'll give you a brief overview of community education, the financial condition of Fund 4, community education, and then 2 budget scenarios. One with limited programming in July and August, open in September through June, which we would call maybe our best case scenario. And then a second presentation or a second summary showing no fee-based programs for the entire school year. Quick overview of community education. We'll go through each one of these budgets briefly, but you'll see it's broken out in 4 areas: the fee programs, which is Activity Center, Adult Enrichment, Aquatics, Building Reservations, Early Learners Academy, Kid Safari, Youth Enrichment, Early Learning, which is your ECFE, School Readiness and Screening, Adult Education, which is Metro South, and Learning Exchange, and then the other, which is Administration Grants, Marketing, Turf, and Youth Services. Brief review from last year. Coming into this previous school year, you see where our fund balances were in each one of those departments: the fee programs, early learning, adult education, and other. You see the community education had a very healthy fund balance coming into this school year, and that set us up well to weather the storm that we're currently in. No doubt COVID-19 has affected everybody, especially community educations, but Bloomington Community Education was in a good spot financially to weather that storm a little bit better than most community educations. Now we'll go into our first budget summary presentation. This is what we called our best case scenario. You see 4 columns on your screen. That first column is the 1920 revised budget, which you approved a few months ago. Then you'll see in the second column what our projections are after COVID-19 hit, and then the 2021 proposed budget as well. So you see the revised budget. If you look at that first column, the bottom number on the first column, the ending fund balance of $3.1 million. Fee programs to land at the end of the year. The next column over, where it's 1920 year-end projections, this is after COVID-19, and you can see the difference in the revenue, expenditures, and obviously at the end, the ending fund balance. Ending fund balance at about 2.2 million is what we're currently projecting our fund balance for the end of the school year. That ending fund balance obviously would be the beginning fund balance for 2021. So $2.2 million fund balance in the fee programs. And you can see where revenue and expenditures are projected for the next school year. Again, fully operational for the most part, getting back to normal, ending with a fund balance of about $1.8 million. Moving to early learning, you can see the same setup, revised budget, the year-end projections, and then using that $1.1 million fund balance as next year's beginning fund balance, and a little bit of a spend down in the fund balance in the early learning budget as well. Ending next school year in this scenario at about $975,000 fund balance. Moving to adult education. Adult education has a healthy fund balance as well. They had planned to spend down their fund balance a little bit this year. When COVID hit, their funding is a little bit different, that their funding is based on last year's contact hours with students. So their funding remained in place for the most part. So we may not see the effects of COVID-19 for maybe 2 years yet, as next year's contact hours with students, if students don't enroll in programs or aren't able to finish a program, you may see fewer students in our adult education. So we may not see the COVID-19 effect in adult education for maybe 2 years yet. As you can see there, the fund balance, beginning fund balance for 2021 at just over 1 million. And again, that's pretty high for an adult education, and we plan to spend that down a little bit to make that program the best it can be. And then in the other, you can see actually was projected in the revised budget a little bit of a deficit. And with the projections for 1920, you see it's now in the black. using that $74,000 fund balance for 2021 proposed beginning fund balance, you see a increase in that fund balance as well next year proposed in this scenario. Here is a summary of everything we've just talked about. So you see coming into the 1920, the revised budget, which you just looked at a few months ago, beginning fund balance at about 5.4 million. That revised budget ending fund balance was going to be just under $5 million. So looking over to the year-end projections, this is a good indication of what COVID had done to our budget currently. You see in the 1920 year-end projections, you can see the revenue down just in the last few months considerably, and expenditures down as well, but not to that same level as what the revenue is down. So an ending fund balance projected here for the end of this year, we're with one month left to go at about $4.48 million in this scenario. So using that number as our proposed beginning fund balance, 4.48 million, you can see there the revenue to be about, in a good scenario, we do plan to see a decrease in our programs next year, just whether parents can afford their programs, or maybe people don't have jobs so they don't need our Kids Safari program anymore. So you do see a reduction in revenue going into next year projected, and expenditures to be down a little bit from last year as well too. Again, not at that same level. So looking at next year's budget in this scenario, and any fund balance of about $3.8 million in scenario 1. Are there any questions on scenario 1 before we get into scenario 2? Again, this is kind of our, everything's back to normal as best they can be, with limited programming this summer in July and August. And then when school starts up, or when September hits, we hope to hit the ground running, operating at close to full force. There's no questions, I can move into the second scenario.
Are there any questions? Hold on, I can see the layout. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to turn your microphone on. Because of the presentation, I'm not able to see you raising your hand. Director Busy?
Yes, with limited July, August, what would those programs be that are happening in July and August?
Right now, that's changing weekly, it seems like. Currently, we do have the green light to start operating a little bit. We will run Kids Safari, a version of Kids Safari this summer, which is our school-age childcare, for a fee. For the last few months, we've been helping with childcare at no cost to parents. So this summer, we're able to charge a fee. We're also looking at some enrichment programs, mostly right now looking at online. We have been looking at doing some limited in-person camps for our youth, but we're still working through some logistics with that and whether it makes sense financially to offer these classes with the current guidelines. So mostly that's what we're looking at currently is Kids Safari and some enrichment opportunities.
Other questions? If you have questions, please turn your microphone on and speak, because I cannot see. Okay, doesn't seem like we have any other. Okay, then go ahead.
I'll move into scenario 2. We didn't do the breakout summaries like we did here, so you'll go straight to the summary of all of community education here. So again, the first 2 columns are the same. It's your 1920 revised budget, and also the year-end projections. You can see what COVID did to community education this year in that second column, the 1920 year-end projections. If you look to that third column where it says 2021 closed the entire year, you can really see what this would do to community education. If you look down, you look at the beginning fund balance of 4.48 million, just like in the last scenario. If you look at the revenue, it's about half of what the revised budget showed from last year. So you can see that the fee-based programs are a big part of what we do and a lot of our revenue. So no fee-based program for the entire school year would be very, very hard on us. So again, that revenue about half of what we saw in the revised budget looking at next year. But if you go to expenditures, you do also see reduction in expenditures from the 1920 revised budget, but not to the same level as what you see in that revenue. This scenario here does not take into account any further furloughs than what we've already done. So we have placed some furloughs on some employees. This does not extend those furloughs any further. So again, this is kind of a worst case scenario, no fee programming, and staff remains as is. So in this scenario here, the summary here shows that obviously the reduction in revenue and the expenditures, again, to exceed the revenue, you see that ending fund balance to be about $1.9 million in this scenario.
This is Rod. When we talk a little bit about this in fund balance, we plan on bringing to the policy committee two policies that revise both the fund balance policy, which mainly deals high level with the more of the general fund options and the rest. But then we have our budget policy that in the area of regulations, it talks about a preferred fund balance for food service, for community ed, and for operating capital. For community ed right now, it's an 8% fund balance that is preferred by the board. At the current scenario one, we're talking about $1 million of fund balance. So you can see that we're in good financial shape at that scenario. On this scenario here, you'd be looking at about a $700,000 fund balance. Again, still very strong compared to what the board in the past has decided on as having for a fund balance goal for community ed. So just wanted to share that with the board. We'll be, after we do the presentations for the other funds on the 8th, I think the policy committee will be meeting after that, and any revisions to those two policies will be brought to the board as part of the June 22nd board meeting, along with the final budget for approval.
Thank you, Ron.
Madam Chair, Jake and Rod, this is Jim Sorum. The fact that Community Ed Fund is a separate fund for, how would we play any adjustments to each of those 4 learning areas if we needed to have more of adjustment in early learning or one of the other ones? Is there any flexibility to go between the funds or the fund balances in each of those areas, or are we pretty much kind of constrained or restricted to keep it that way as the budget shows?
Good question, Jim. Within community education, you can share. So some of those budgets do give to other departments to help float them.
All right, good, thank you.
And also just to share, the general fund itself is responsible for any time it falls below a fund balance goal that we want for the other funds, or if we go into the negatives, the general fund is responsible for the other funds to balance them out.
All right, any other questions, board members?
This is Heather Starks.
Go ahead.
So I have 2 questions. I'll just ask them one at a time, though. So the first one is, are we in an all or nothing type situation where we have to decide we're either going to be going ahead with programming or we're going to be doing no programming? Or is there any room for, as CDC guidelines change and we potentially have some sort of in-person school, can we adjust as we go?
That's a good question too. We have been adjusting as we go. Sometimes daily or weekly, we're changing what our plan is. So we did receive guidance in the last couple of weeks about childcare. So we're making plans to offer childcare this summer, starting June 15th, and also some enrichment opportunities. Just last week, we got some clear guidance on just exactly what we can do with outdoor spaces and indoor spaces. So we do plan on making adjustments as we go. And I think that's part of the idea behind revising this budget numerous times throughout the year.
And then my follow-up question was sort of a similar question that Jim had about fund balances, and Rod, you answered that well. I believe, if I remember right, when the commissioner had the distance learning guidelines, there was something in there about allowing some funds to intermingle that weren't previously allowed. And then also there was discussion at the legislative level about supporting school districts with fee-based programming with some additional funds. Can you just kind of explain where that landed, if we got anything or not, and then what the funds that she was referring to that could be connected that in the past have not been allowed?
They were stating that they were talking about having capital funds, whether it be our alt facilities, our operating capital, those different type of funds being able to be moved into food service, community ed, and the rest. That did not go through. We also did not get any additional funds as part of the legislation. We'll have to see with the CARES funds if there's anything there once that goes through.
Fantastic, thank you.
Thank you. Other questions? I can see you all now, so you can raise your hand again. No? Okay. Well, no other questions, and thank you, both of you, for tonight's presentation. Okay, let's move into the next item. It is the District 271 Long-Term Facility Maintenance Program 10-year budget. Would someone please read that resolution? Director Olson.
Okay. Be it resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 271 approves the attached 10-year long-term facility maintenance program budget and authorizes the current amount to be included in the district's long-term facility maintenance projects application for long-term facility maintenance revenue.
Is there a second?
Second, Steigoff.
Thank you. Mr. Sitkovich?
Chair Corman, Superintendent Fujitaki, board members. This is really the start of the levy process for the 21-22 school year. What the state requires us to do is every year the board must approve a 10-year long-term facility plan for both our deferred maintenance items and then also our health and safety items. And what we do is, because the state requires the board to have the board approve minutes and then the minutes of the approved minutes, since we do not have meetings usually in July, we bring this to the board here in May, so that the next two board meetings allows us to be able to submit this program to the state in a timely manner. This is a normal occurrence, and what it just does is it lays out kind of our projects that we're planning to do over the next 10 years. There's nothing really in solid once you get past a couple years, but some of the pieces that we're putting out to is as going down the line are Hillcrest and then also a utility plant for both Jefferson and Olson facilities.
Any questions? Director Starks.
So the timeline that we saw back in February seems like a lifetime ago, but the long-term facilities plan that you talked about that had Hillcrest and whatnot, is that timeline still intact as of right now?
As we're looking right now, that's the plan of action, is that the summer of 22, we're kind of catching up for Valley View. Because technically that was supposed to be a 3-year project in the way of funding. We did it over 2 years to save some money and to get it done more efficiently and in a timely manner. Then it'll be we'll get caught up on some things that we put off to be able to pay for those up front, such as roofs, parking lots, and the rest. Then we'll move, the plan at this point in time is to move to the plant the following year of the summer of 23, and then the summer of 24 going to Hillcrest.
Okay. And all of this is subject to change should financial things change
Exactly.
between now and then. Okay.
We just talked with Ellers and Associates about bonding. We will be coming to the board in probably the last meeting in June to get authority to look at selling bonds for the next 3 years cycle. We've talked to them. Rates are very good right now. We usually do it on a 2-year cycle, and we weren't going to do them till probably January, March timeframe of 2001. But based on what we're seeing right now with rates and the rest, we're planning on doing it early.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions? Hearing none, then we're going to proceed to vote. All those in favor of approving this resolution, please say aye. Director Beebe?
Aye.
Director Bennett?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Sorum? Director Sorum? Did we lose? Oh, no, there he is. Director Starks?
Aye.
Director Steiger?
Aye.
Director Sorum? Corman, aye. Director Sorum?
It appears to be frozen.
Yeah, he looks frozen. Wonder if we have to wait. I think we'll just give him a moment. Any suggestions, Mr. Holman?
Well, you do have a majority, so you can declare it passed with an abstention.
Okay, so with a 6-2 an abstention vote, this resolution is approved. We'll move into the next one, and that would be Intermediate District 917 Long-Term Facility Maintenance Budget. Would someone read the resolution, please? Director Bennett.
Be resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 271 approves Intermediate District number 917's long-term facility maintenance program budget and authorizing the inclusion of proportional share of these projects in the district's application for long-term facility maintenance revenue.
There a second?
Second.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Chiklovich?
Chair Corman, Superintendent Fujitaki, board members. This is a very similar to what we just talked about for our district. Since intermediate districts aren't allowed to, or they don't have the ability to levy because they don't have individual community within, they can go through, based on law, can go through member districts to have them levy for them for those purposes. And since I think Director Bennett is on their board approved this resolution with board members from each one of the other member districts. And what they're doing is wanting to get our approval to make sure that we include it in our levy process and the state knows what we're including in our levy process.
Questions? I see no question. Director Bennett.
Yeah, Rod, I was wondering, from your perspective, do you have any concerns with 917 requesting us to do this, or I don't know what
No,
you thought?
they've been very reasonable and compared to what we saw in the past when we were with other intermediates.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? And I don't have any questions, so we'll move to vote. All those in favor of approving this resolution, please say aye. Director Beebe?
Aye.
Director Bennett?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Sorum? Doesn't seem like he's in the call right now. Director Starks?
Aye.
Director Steiger?
Aye.
And Corman, aye. Okay, so this is a 6-2 an abstained vote, and it passes. Resolution passes. Okay. Next item, acceptance of donations.
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead. Director Saga?
be it resolved that the School Board of Independent School District 271 accepts donations as indicated in the background and the amount of $7,778.70.
Second.
Okay. Any questions, comments? Oh, sorry. Anybody? Mr. Setkovich, that's you again.
Yeah. Director Corman, Superintendent Fujitaki, board members, the board has moved this from a Part A in the agenda as usual to a Part B. And these are all donations that have gone to the board over the years. Nothing has really changed in those procedures. We'll also be scrolling these at the like we've have in the past after the end of the board meeting of all the donations of different people that have given over time. And as Executive Director Kaufman mentioned earlier, it's the appreciation to all the groups that have helped support us, not only just during this time, but throughout the years that helped the district to be able to do what they can do.
Thank you. Comments? Questions, Director Bennett?
Yeah, yes, sorry. Just looking at the donations and the one on here, this is a donation of $1,000 to Valley View Middle School from an anonymous donor. I just thought that was really remarkable. If there's someone that just didn't want any credit, but had the means to donate it to a school and didn't even want to be recognized. Just, here you go, here's the money for public education. Do with it however you want. So, I mean, that's amazing. And, just a big thank you to all the people that donate. We got the masks on here, and then from the Education Foundation of Bloomington for the food distribution program. It's just wonderful community that we have that's very supportive of our schools.
Yeah, the Education Foundation has partnered with us to handle those donations coming through rather than coming directly to the district.
Mm-hmm. That's very kind. Anybody else? Okay, hearing anyone, we will, oh, hold on. I got a little lost here. Okay, we're gonna move into voting here. So all those in favors and approving this resolution of donations, please say aye. Director Beebe?
Aye.
Director Bennett?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Sorum? Not back in the call. Director Starks?
Aye.
Okay. Director Steigaff?
Aye.
And Corman? Aye. I don't think I missed anyone, right? Okay, so we have 6 votes and 1 person abstaining. Okay, this one passes too. Okay, so we'll come to the board member reports. Director Beebe.
Well, it was a busy week last week. We had a committee meeting for the superintendent's evaluation, and you should have all gotten that evaluation in your email. So we're moving forward on that. I also attended the AMSD meeting on Friday, which was really packed with lots of information, specifically as it relates to the COVID. I'm trying to remember her first name or last name. From MDE. Was it Heather Mueller?
Yes.
Okay. And she spoke, and she said there should be an update on the MDE website, but I visited there today, and it has some updates for the summer, but it doesn't have for the fall. But that's where it was quite overwhelming to see all the things that are going into this. Of course, we had our celebration of service, and we all as a board were there, and it was really delightful to hear stories of service to our district, just people who've been there for over 30 years. It's just so impressive. We just have such great people that gift our district. So I appreciate that, and that's my report.
Director Olson.
I just wanted to say that I will be attending the Education Minnesota Legislative Screening tomorrow, online, of course. And while I am confident in our Bloomington legislators being supportive of public education, funding appropriately and equitably, I am very interested in the questions that will be asked.
Anybody else? Any other reports? Director Starks.
I don't have as much of a report as just a thank you that I wanted to mention. So, you know, all the planning that's gone into the end of the year work that's going to be happening next week with turning in Chromebooks and saying goodbye to your teachers. I just want to thank every staff member that was a part of that. I'm going to be a weepy mess next week as we leave our elementary school of 12 years that the Starks family's been a part of. So, but just an advanced thank you to everyone that put that together, and that for all of the celebrations that we're going to be able to have next week. I'm looking forward to the bus driving by our house on Thursday so we can say goodbye to the bus driver. So I'm really grateful that there was a lot of thought that went into how do we close out the school year in a way that celebrates the end of the year with kids and with staff and their families. Because I think as challenging as this time is, that's one of the things that we really need to hang on to. So thank you for prioritizing that as a school board member, but also as a parent.
Anyone else? Director Steiger.
I just want to add along with that for parents to make sure and check in with their teacher or their school, because I think many of the schools are doing different things. And so it would be really sad if you missed it because you didn't check in. And, you know, also thank you for everyone for figuring out some way for, I guess you could call it a distance goodbye. So, but I just want to make sure parents check in and so that they're aware of it.
Yes. Anybody else? No? Well, one reminder about AMSD, I have also attended this meeting on Friday, but for all board members, please remember you can go to the AMSD website and access the agenda of the meeting. Very interesting presentations there that you might be interested in seeing, in reading. Okay, and other than that, I will echo the same. Thank you to everyone, and don't forget there is a video at the end of our meeting. After we adjourn, there will be a video with a message from the board. It's a message of gratitude for everyone. Okay, so what's next? Superintendent's report. Superintendent Fujitake.
Thank you, Chair Corman. The administration requests a motion to establish a closed session of the school board on Monday, June 8th, upon the conclusion of the regular school board meeting, which begins at 7 p.m. The meeting will be closed to discuss the district's labor negotiation strategies. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Okay, so all those in favor of approving this motion, please say aye. Director Beebe?
Aye.
Director Bennett?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Starks?
Aye.
Director Steiger?
Aye.
And Corman, aye. And unfortunately, Director Sorum is not here yet. So this is a 6 and 1 abstaining vote, and it passes. So, and any other business?
Yes, I have other news.
Go ahead.
Chair Corman, I have good news. We have 2 awards, or several awards. Kennedy High School earned an Innovation Award Bronze Star from the Minnesota Association of Secondary School Principals for its Career Pathway Advisory Model. The Star of Innovation Awards are given each year to schools across the state for development and support of exemplary and innovative education programs that bring about positive school change. So congratulations to Kennedy High School. BCTV received an awards. The first award is from the Upper Midwest Emmy Foundation for Best Live sports production for its football coverage led by Kennedy High School junior Joe Wicklin. Junior Zach Bashura was selected as an AV All-Star, and Kennedy High School graduate Alex Redding was selected for a scholarship to continue his education in broadcasting. Alex attends Hennepin Technical College for video production. Congratulations to BEC TV and these award winners. The next topic is an appointment by the governor. Congratulations to Michelle Quickstead, who has been selected by Governor Tim Walz to serve as a special education coordinator on the governor's interagency coordinating council on early childhood interventions. Congratulations to Michelle. And everyone, just for information, the last day of school is June 4th. That's a Thursday. With the closing of schools, there's going to be a school bus parade. School bus drivers are important to the total school experience for children. The bonds they form with students help shape who the students become. We know our drivers and students miss the daily interactions. So as a way to say goodbye to the school year, drivers will be driving their afternoon routes on the last day of school, Thursday, June 4th. Summer meals. The current successful Grab and Go Meals program will continue through Thursday, June 4th, the last day of school. The summer meals program will begin on June 8th and will continue through June 30th at Kennedy High School and Valley Middle School, and meals will be served between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Then an extended summer meals program, because we've had summer meals programs in the past, but now we're going to extend it beginning in July. They're both at Kennedy and Valley View Middle School. They start on July 1st, and Valley View will end on July 31st because of the construction, and Kennedy will continue to August 21st. Both programs will serve meals between 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And I'll conclude with this. I'll take this opportunity to express a special thank you to Rick Kaufman and the COVID response team for their exemplary leadership. Responding to this pandemic was and continues to be a Herculean challenge for our entire school community. We can be extremely proud of how everyone elegantly pivoted to distance learning, working from home, and being nimble and flexible and understanding with so much uncertainty and drama. Thank you, everyone. I'm confident it will continue to see this kind of cooperation and teamwork going forward. I'll turn it back to you, Chair Corman. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Bennett.
Yes, I just heard from Director Sorm, and he was saying he wasn't able to get back in, but he needed to do a resolution. So I'll go ahead and move that we have a closed session on June 8th at 5:30 for the purpose of superintendent evaluation.
Okay, second, Steigoff.
Okay, Director Beebe, you are part of that committee. Would you like to say something?
Yes, we need all of you to complete your resolution or your evaluation of the superintendent turned into Deb at the school office or by email by June 1st, so that we're able to be prepared for those to be summarized for our meeting on the 8th. Thank you.
Okay, so those in favor of approving this motion, please say aye. Director Beebe?
Aye.
Director Bennett?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Starks?
Aye.
Director Steigoff?
Aye.
And Corman, aye. That is 6 votes and 1 abstaining. That motion passes. Thank you. Okay, any other business? Hearing none, then we're gonna move into adjournment. Is there a motion to close the meeting tonight?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Director Beebe?
Aye.
Director Bennett?
Aye.
Director Olson?
Aye.
Director Starks?
Aye.
Director Steigoff?
Aye.
Corman? Aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
During this time of
Okay, so many-
uncertainty, the Bloomington School Board would like to thank our staff, families, and community for for coming together and putting our students first.
And we're proud of our dedicated teachers who have gone above and beyond the call to continue to provide education and support to our students through distance learning.
Thank you to our food service workers and other district staff who have helped coordinate and distribute hundreds of thousands of meals for our families at such a critical time.
And to our amazing employees, principals, school nurses, paraprofessionals, clerical, custodians, bus drivers, the Office of Educational Equity team, and our district leadership and staff. You are our frontline heroes. We appreciate all your extra efforts at this time.
Bloomington parents, guardians, and families, we know the pandemic has not been easy. We sincerely thank you for your dedication to supporting your children's learning and growth, along with your patience and grace.
To our students, and especially our graduating seniors, we know this isn't how you envision this school year coming to a close. Thank you for sacrificing time with your friends and teachers to ensure the safety of others.
And to our Bloomington community, thank you for your donations, your well wishes, and continued support. We are made stronger through our district's collaboration with community partners, and we are proud to be One Bloomington.